Vallejo, California. Sports fans worldwide, it's time for the Fitz Blitz on 89.5 FM, KZCT Vallejo. This week on the Blitz, we talk about, what the heck do we talk about with no sports going on right now? Talk about what should have been, maybe what will be, and where we are right now. All that and more coming up on the Blitz. Let's do this. Good afternoon, Vallejo. Timmy Fitz bringing you the Blitz here on 89.5 FM, KZCT OzCat Radio in Vallejo. Be sure to hit me up on Twitter at TimmyFitz76. I'm still on there here or there. Not on there as much, with no breaking sports news necessarily to cover or to hear about. But I am here bringing you the Fitz Blitz. First show in a couple of weeks. Coming to you live from my new apartment in Vallejo, California. That's right, my own one-bedroom in Glen Cove Landing. Got the mixing board set up, got the Mixlr app rolling. We're doing it. It's a remote Fitz Blitz from my brand new apartment. I'm settling in. It's still kind of chaos. I got the board on a box, which is on top of another box, which is on top of a container. That's just the mixing board. Then the streaming laptop is on another box, and then the laptop is literally on my laptop with my notes. So I hope you're all staying safe, doing well out there, being healthy. But I'm excited to be coming to you from my first solo apartment going into it. I've had an apartment to myself for an extended period of time before. When Mom moved to Sicily, of course. And when my ex decided she didn't love me anymore. So I told her to get the hell out of our Lake Merritt apartment. Live there by myself for just the right amount of time. Since I left there to come work for the Admirals, and the rest is history. And I'm now kind of a thing in Vallejo, and my apartment, where I live, is now a thing in Vallejo. Hey, big shout out to Tula Carter, fellow OzCat, also of OzCat Radio. I rented a room from her for the last 3 months. Spent January, February, March at Tula's, and it was perfect because that was what I needed. I got to move after the home sporting events for Cal Maritime were over a few more weeks earlier than I expected. But that was the plan, to not have to move during the school year. I would have never chosen that. But hey, Mom had to do her thing. I'm there with her. We worked it. We did it. Here I am now. So got the games to be done with. That gave me the time for that. Because last year, November 30th, I had a women's basketball game at 2 p.m., then had to rush back home and finish moving again before going to San Jose, where I was going to stay for a few nights. So that was a little tougher. A lot tougher. Let's go ahead and say it that way. So that feels good to have that out of the way now and to be in my own spot. Still settling in. Still got things to deal with. Sheltering in place here. Physical distancing, as you all are as well. You might think, wait, did you move with nobody helping, having to isolate like that? I had help moving from the Fitz Blitz co-hosts, Chris and Steven. It's too late for us to social distance. It's too late. We've been around each other at the time any of us would have had peak exposure. We even did one more studio show from OSCAT back on the 16th of March after all of us hanging out at my birthday party, which was like the last physical social gathering a lot of my friends got to do in Vallejo. Everybody went into self-quarantine after that. Beauty of it was we pretty much had downtown Georgia Street to ourselves that night. So it was mostly our inner circle hopping the bars. So the Fitz Blitz moving company sprang into action this past Thursday and Friday. My friends Tina, her husband Rob, they helped me out Friday as well. My girl Lonnie helped me out Saturday along with Tina again. So luckily, I had an already exposed to each other inner circle to help me out. And I can't thank them enough. That's for sure. We'll have Chris and Steven back on even during these quarantine shows after I get a little more squared away with my workspace here. We'll see about Skyping them in a FaceTime or something like that, or maybe being that we've been exposed to each other already, they'll come here. I just don't want them too exposed to the rest of the world. But it's too late. We've been around each other too much. We'll have them back soon. Looking forward to that. I normally don't need to listen to other shows in the sports talk world for inspiration. But this time, I read about what other shows were doing. Because I certainly needed the help. Occasionally, back in the day, I would flip on other sports shows earlier in the day before mine, just to see if there were any more hot topics I should hit, or to hear an opinion or popular argument I should argue against on my show. Things like that. Are there any hot topics I missed? Or basically figure out what some other local talk show guy, what his stance and thesis was, and then I would argue against that. Have him be my fictional debate partner there. just as inspiration here or there. But normally, I do it my way. I haven't needed any other talk show guidance on how to handle a touchy subject or to find a lead to follow. I've just blitzed ahead. This time, I needed the help. It was good to know they were talking about how COVID-19 has affected sports, which I'll do today, how it's affected their daily lives, which I'm doing right now, and, of course, plenty of silly, superfluous brackets. Brackets, brackets, brackets. Brackets and brackets. Brackets of top late-night hosts, top teams, top mustaches of the 70s. Top surprises that they would mow the lawn the day after raining right here next to my apartment at noon on a Monday. I guess that's scheduled. Oh, boy. I knew it was all going too well, too swimmingly. 2. Choice debates, too. Choice debates, too. The which would you rather have debates. And we'll have those with Steven and Chris. And so many challenges. Oh, the challenges. The worst of which being the chainmail variety that gives me work to do. Hey, I've got my own social media channels to run at work. I don't need you guys giving me work on my personal ones. That said, we will be gathering some inspiration for the Keelhauler social media via all these challenges. But it certainly won't be the one where because I liked your post, now I have to post something that gives me work to do with a specific tag or embarrassing photo. Well, guess what? You're not giving me work to do. And I may not like your posts anymore. Since I'm now suspect of if I like a post, I've got to do some post to follow that up with. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to unlike the post that led to you telling me I got to post something. Ha! What do you think of that? But I'm fortunate. I've still got work to do. I'm still employed at our local Cal State University. The games being canceled at Cal Maritime just accelerated my off-season by a few weeks. So I'm wrapping up some season stuff along with starting up off-season work. Along with just catching my breath a bit. Just like I would have done when the games and races ended, which would have been basically after this weekend. Because it is a grind. It is a grind working all those games and covering all those sports in a school year. That and my move have kept me occupied. That's been helpful. That and the move, along with being an introvert who loves him some MLB The Show. I will say I am unimpressed with the bored in the house bored Gen Zers. All right? You know, I don't get too grumpy old man on the youngsters that often. But this is one. I am unimpressed with the bored in the house bored Gen Zers. Not to sound like a grumpy old man, but learn a skill, huh? Learn a language. Hell, even the video games are better than your whining. I haven't been bored in years, and I'm not going to start now. I hope to come out of this more proficient at Photoshop and Adobe Premiere. So it hasn't affected me much yet. Not as much as others. Really feel for those who are out of work due to this right now. That's the real bummer. Right after those who have gotten sick and maybe even lost their lives. All the people out of work is a shame. And I hate to see it. But it hasn't affected me that much yet. I'm just now at the stage of where I'd be had the game stopped. Maybe in shopping and travel. It has affected me there. It has canceled the short trips around the West Coast I had planned as my summer breaks this year. I was going to start them early and have multiple small ones rather than one big summer trip. I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to my third off-season at Cal Maritime and thus had a better idea of how to arrange and handle that time. But it looks like I'll have plenty of time for that work, but not the little getaways. Wow, I think I'm going to lean out the window and yell to the lawnmower guy, "Hey, is this every Monday at noon?" Because that would suck. I was set up so well here. Maybe I'm going to listen to this later. Maybe you guys aren't really even hearing it that much. Okay, you had to have heard that part. I'm going to go back and listen to it later. That'll determine how bad it is. But right now, it is loud as hell in my ear. Oh, my God. It rained yesterday. All day. It's supposed to rain again today. Okay, all right. Anyway. This is this little break that I'm getting to take here. The sheltering in place, the working from home. Right now has been a nice little respite for me, if anything. It's kind of freaking weird. And I get all nervous when my allergies act up. And I miss a lot of people. But modern video chatting, that technology is very helpful. And I'm saving a ton of money instead of going out. But I do hate Donald Trump more than ever. And that's stressful in and of itself. Even with all that, I don't have any conspiracy theories for the COVID-19 outbreak. Early on, I was like, man, started in China. Don't trust that. All those protesters in Hong Kong have disappeared. You know, Wuhan's got a university there with biotech research. You know, it was that. I didn't trust the Chinese government to have used, you know, biological weapons and have it get out of hand, get out of control, out of their containment. But as it got bigger and bigger and bigger, that theory died for me. I was like, no. And that's with all of my conspiracy theories, is that and I don't have too many, but the ones I do have, it's about an easy chain of command of sir, yes, sir, below a minimal amount of people being in charge of it. You know, anytime there's too many people involved, too many moving parts in a hustle, any hustle, that's when it starts to fall apart. So some military ones, things like that is where I may have a conspiracy theory or two, because you got this cabal up top and then an easy chain of sir, yes, sir down below it. But anytime it gets too big, too many people involved, too many experts that have to be in on it, like the moon landing being faked, that's too many experts involved on that one. Same for this. Too many medical experts involved to think there's any conspiracy to this one. I just can't do it. I don't have it for this one. But I do need to talk about the toilet paper towel thing, with that running out. You know you can't get that through your butt, right, guys? COVID-19 does not usually create upset stomachs or things of that nature. Just want to reiterate that. Can still get plenty of vitamin C or immunity supplements, cold and flu treatments, not toilet paper. And it's expanding into paper towels now. I saw a theory in an article, reputable source, about this is because people aren't at work. So there's the commercial toilet paper and the private sector, if you will, toilet paper. Commercial and residential, we'll call it, like real estate. And all of the people are home, so they're using the toilet paper they would have used at the office. Okay. That's stretching it a little bit. In fact, a lot. Because they started buying up the toilet paper before everybody was stuck at home. And really, people are taking that word. Besides, work toilet paper is that cheap, thin crap anyway, right? It's not the good stuff. Nobody's got Charmin at their office. I guess the same manufacturers make the industrial line a little flimsier and cheaper. And then they put out the nice stuff for the homes. I'm not buying it. It's panic. People expect a shortage of things. So maybe go get the proper supplies and chill out on the toilet paper, huh? All right. Tell you what, let's take a break. I'm going to play the most appropriate song ever for this break. Ever. This song is by Del the Funky Homo Sapien, the Bay Area's own. Track off his album Deltron 3030. Deltron, this was a concept album he did in a post-apocalyptic future. Ooh. Yeah, imagine that, right? The most appropriate song I could play right now. It's called Virus by Deltron. Here on 89.5 FM, KZCT, OzCat Radio in Vallejo.
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I wanna make a super virus, strong enough to cause blackouts in every single metropolis. Cause they don't wanna unify us, so fuck it, total anarchy and can't nobody stop us. You see, late in the evening, up on my computer and my mind starts roaming. I create like a heathen. The first cycles of this virus I can send through a modem. Infiltration hits your station. No Microsoft or enhanced DOS will impede. Society thinks they're safe when bingo, hard drive crashes from the rending. A lot of hackers tried viruses before. Vaporize your text like so much whiteout. I want it where file replication is a chore. Lights out, shut down entire White House. I don't want just a bug that can be corrected. I'm erecting immaculate design. Break the nation down section by section. Even to the greatest minds, it's impossible to find. I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
I have already planned. The plan is programmed into every one of my 1,000 robots. We will not hesitate. We will destroy the Homo sapiens. Please stay where you are.
I wanna develop a super virus, better by far than an old Y2K. This is 3030, the time of global unification. Break right through they terminals, burn them all, slaves to silicon. Corrupt politicians with leaders and their keywords. FBI and spies stealing bombs to precipitate their plans in their face and catch the fever. Everybody loot the stores, get your canned goods. Even space stations are having a hard time. Peacekeepers seek to take our manhood, which results in the form of global apartheid. Ghettos are trash dumps with gas pumps, exploded and burnt out since before the Great Union. The last punks walk around like mass monks, ready to manipulate the database or break through them. Human rights come in 100th place. Mass production has always been number one. New Earth has become a repugnant place, so it's time to spread the fear that's fun to some.
Too long have we tried to extend our glorious empire out to the stars, only to be driven back.
I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
Welcome back to the Fitz Blitz on 89.5 FM, KZCT Vallejo. Timmy Fitz bringing you the Blitz. Let's talk about what we're missing right now. All the sports affected by this. Most locally, for me, Cal Maritime, rugby and sailing were canceled. That's who lost the ends of their seasons at Cal Maritime. Rugby was supposed to play the University of the Pacific. Did not happen on March 15th. We found that out, in fact, on the 11th of March, that was going to be the case. So the last game for them was against Army and didn't get to honor the seniors in the usual fashion. It's a small senior class this year. It was a young Cal Maritime team. I think only 3 active seniors, 6 total on the inactive roster dealing with injuries. So still got to find a way to honor those 6 guys in some way, shape, or form. It may happen remotely, maybe when things commence again at school. I don't know. But it's a bummer. Definitely, that's a big alumni rugby. Big roster. And it sucks. It sucks not to be able to give them their time on senior day, their time to shine, and to honor the hard work they've put in over the past 4 to 5 years. So didn't get to do that, but we'll find out how we can in some way, shape, or form. For sailing, I was going to get to go down to Stanford and cover a race. We were going to have one on campus as well. We were going to have a competition for women sailors. And we're missing out on that. It's a couple of real bummers in the Cal Maritime athletics getting shortened. When we were last on, we talked about men's basketball Xavier Lucero getting an honorable mention, All-American honorable mention. And since that time, he had a birthday. I think it was yesterday. Happy birthday, Zave. Hope you're feeling well today. So I'm at that stage of working on loose ends from this past year and getting ready to make new materials for the coming seasons. And behind the scenes, Chris Zavagli and I are making graphics to help with recruiting. We show the guy in his new uniform, and we put "Welcome to the Keel Haulers" are officially signed on it, things like that the kids love. They're into that. And it helps them see themselves as a keel hauler. And Coach Rooney seems to like it and keeps asking for them, so apparently it helps in this process. As far as the NHL and the NBA, I'm going to lump them together since they each play that same 82-game season that stretches almost the exact same part of the calendar from October into April as far as a regular season. And then the playoffs tend to go into the summer. I'm expecting quick restarts. 10, 15 games at most, maybe 10-ish, just to kind of have some sort of regular season semblance. It may jump right into the playoffs. I could see that as well. Seedings are what they are. Here's what we have. Realize some teams maybe made trades thinking they had a run in them. Some teams may complain that are just on the outside of a playoff spot or a division title. But hey, the asterisks of the COVID-19 shortened season will be there for everyone. For the winners, for the losers, for the playoff teams, the non-playoff teams. We're a little lucky this year it was a rebuild for the Warriors. Should not affect their amount of ping pong balls. For Major League Baseball, affecting the beginning of its season, I was really hoping for 100 games. I thought that would be just right. Okay, let's get 100 games in, starting in June. Now, maybe push it off to July. And that is a theory right now. Starting the season in July, maybe July 4th. Skip the All-Star game, which is supposed to be at Dodger Stadium, where several $1 million in improvements were made to host that All-Star game. I think a lot. I think they put a lot into that. But now they're thinking, skip the All-Star game and have neutral site, warm weather locations for the playoffs. Ideally being Dodger Stadium, that had its improvements poured into it and hasn't had a rain out since the year 2000. Any of those playoff games, those World Series they were in, all these playoff runs they've had, no game at start time had a temperature below 67 degrees. Now, the one caveat is if the Dodgers are in an LCS or a World Series, which the chances are high. Fangraphs had a chance of 97% coming into this year, as they are a stacked team. A stacked team with a chip on their shoulder, eager to show they got cheated out of a World Series. So the backup locations are Arizona, San Diego, of course. Those locations make sense too. maybe even Anaheim. But now the 100 games idea is also looking difficult. That was what I wanted. But I think I'm resigning myself to an 81-game half season for this year. If I had to put my money on anything of what baseball does as things drag on and the way this country and the southern part of the United States, especially the Southeast, have handled this outbreak so poorly, I think we're looking at a half season. At best, 81 games later in the season, and that's what makes me think as well, with things being pushed off as they are, we may jump right into the playoffs for basketball and hockey as well. We should be talking about fantasy baseball right now. One of my leagues went ahead and drafted. My snake draft league with Dave Grant, that one went through. My auction league with old friends has not. Okay, well, that league's waiting to see and wait when the season starts. My snake draft with Dave Grant, that one happened already. If there's some pointers I can give you, depending on if you've drafted or not, there are not as many first base options as there used to be. While shortstop is plentiful, that has completely flipped around. You may have to check in on some reclamation projects at first base, like Jesus Aguilar. Didn't hit the ball as hard as in the past last season. And most of his hits went to the opposite field. The majority of Jesus Aguilar's hits went to right, which is odd for him. Something affected his bat speed last year. We'll see if he's healthy. I'm also not completely convinced Miguel Cabrera's power is gone. I'm not completely convinced it's over. He still hit the ball extremely hard, but all with a higher fly ball ratio, a higher infield fly ball rate. I get the feeling he was trying to hit home runs, and it made it worse. He hit less. He had more pop-ups. I'm not convinced his power days are over, maybe in the 20-something range. We'll get more into that as an announcement is made about the start of the season, whenever that may happen. We should be crowning a March Madness champion tonight. We're not doing that. No March Madness. Schools have, the NCAA decided, I believe the NAIA as well, that players, if they choose to have another year of eligibility, can come back and play again. It's going to create some crowding. I'm sure there'll be some folks who are on the bench or maybe went to smaller schools or realize they're not going to be a pro at the next level, may forego that, may graduate and move on to their professional lives instead of going through that grind of practice and travel. If they love it, though, they may stick with it. Could create some cluttered rosters. So a lot of that needs to be worked out. Baseball, you get 11 and a half scholarships, I believe, and you spread it around over your whole roster. Versus there's a scholarship for each individual. A lot of small schools, we operate like that a bit at the NAIA level. Gonna create some crowded rosters. And then there's these players that lost the winter season playoffs. Lost their tournaments, like March Madness. What do you do with that? How do they ever get that back? A lot of them are at their programs for that. Like, that's the reason I came to this school, was because we're got a good shot to win our conference, play in the national tournament. That's not going to happen. And they're not going to get eligibility back. For the Vallejo Admirals, the Pacific Association still plans to play. That's the beauty of the Bay Area. We can play into October. And the beauty of short season baseball. And that season isn't scheduled to start until right around Memorial Day anyway. So I do get the feeling the Admiral season gets pushed back a month. I get the feeling it starts in July as well and can play into October. You run into venue sharing issues depending on if the if the high schools are needing them. So maybe you're playing into September at most. That's fine as well. But that will be the issue. So some venue adjustments may have to be made. That's the one thing that could screw up the Pacific Association season a bit. Luckily, we can thank Matt O'Donnell of the Vallejo Times-Herald for recently putting together his all-time Vallejo Admirals position player team. We're going to go through that list right now. I thought this was perfectly timed. I can't thank him enough for this. So let's talk about this list from Matt O'Donnell. He said he thought it would be fun to do a list of his favorite Admirals position by position. So it's not necessarily a best of Admirals column. He says there may have been better players. Some of these guys, however, stand out for their colorful personalities or other memorable attributes. So props to Matt for doing that. That's a good way to do it, since that's where we are now. We have to talk about the proper way to make a list. All the qualifiers for his list. But this is a good one. I like how he set that up. He says he's going to save pitchers for next week. So we'll concentrate on positional players right now. He starts off at catcher. Boy, I should have had their little bios from back in the day ready. I think from West Lawn, Pennsylvania. Catcher Isaac Wenrick. Matt said Wenrick was one of the original Admirals from the 2013 season. He played for the team in 2014 as well. In his final season with the Admirals, his on-base percentage was .381. He hit 9 homers, even had 7 steals. He was good at that for a catcher. Matt recalled when the Admirals were eliminated in the Pacific Association playoffs in 2013. Wenrick sat on the bench with his head down. He took that ending of the season hard, but was more than willing to make a few minutes for me. That was outstanding. Wenrick, he would go up to play for the New Jersey Jackals in the Can-Am, and I'm pretty sure he went out a champion. I think much like myself. He got to finish his indie ball career as a champion, won a title, and I think has some work lined up in affiliated baseball, potentially even in the Giants organization once things do resume again. Recently married as well. Congrats, Isaac Wenrick. Matt gave his honorable mention to Nick Krause, who was the only Admirals catcher down the stretch in 2018. That is true. My honorable mention is Kyle Figueroa. Yes, Figgy. From a ball-playing family. His brother Cole, his father as well in the big leagues. Kyle was he was a warrior out there for sure. One of the scarier moments ever was him having a bounce off the plate directly into his throat before. And he was just one tough dude. That's all there was to it. Jaime DeValier kind of makes my alternate list as well. He was a tough guy. That Kyle Figueroa. Entertaining fella at that. I got to go with Figgy as my alternate there to Wenrick. At first base. Well, I'm remembering where all these guys are from now. I should have brought out some of my old scripts. First base, Nick Bogan on Matt's list. The 2014 team, managed by Gary Templeton II, Matt thought was the most talented team before the championship in 2017. And it's true. He came out of Division III. I believe it's Division III. Cal Lutheran did Nick Bogan. Hit .333, 14 homers, 58 ribbies, and .896 OPS that season. He had just this, and Matt notices it too, noted it, his sweet left-handed swing helped launch a number of home runs into the trees at right field in Wilson Park. And he just had a graceful, smooth, powerful, loud swing. The ball came off of his bat with some noise. Bogan finished as runner-up in the league. MVP race that year. Knee injuries, however, slowed him down in 2015, and he hasn't played since then, but has moved on to a career in the software industry, if I'm not mistaken. Second baseman, he goes with another original Admiral, Lito Roman. Roman was a favorite at Wilson Park in that first year. Fans starting a chant when he came to the plate. Hit 280, had 20 stolen bags, but he played the game hard and was really very good defensively. He gave his honorable mention, does Matt, to Ryan Canary. Hit 21 homers 2 seasons ago. Went to Southern Maryland in the Atlantic League last year. Canary was formerly in the Angels organization, was kind of a contact slap-hitting bench guy before reinventing his swing with some launch angle. My alternate was Quentin Rohrbaugh. That's right, Q. For a lot of the same reasons the next guy earned Matt's top shortstop award. Quentin Rohrbaugh was part of that remake of the Admirals infield when P.J. Phillips had that 2017 team with leftovers from 2016. He really had to clear all that out. He had to remake the entire infield. And when Quentin Rohrbaugh came in to play second, that really solidified a lot. That was the final piece in the infield remake. The first piece, maybe, in that infield remake is the alternate at third base. We'll talk about him. The second piece in that infield remake of 2017, shortstop David Kyriakos, a member of the Pacific Association Championship team. Kyriakos was one of the reasons the Admirals went from worst to first in 2017. And Matt's right about that. He had played with San Rafael in Pittsburgh before. In this, 2018. Yeah, that was his last. He did play the 2018 season with us. Had a career-high 10 homers, 414 on-base percentage. And Matt noted that Kyriakos was always willing to talk to him after games. Matt said he sometimes sought him out after a difficult defeat due to his even-keeled nature. It's probably original Admiral first season's Jesse Olivar that gets this spot for me as the alternate shortstop. I do give Kyriakos this same spot here as well. And Kyriakos was better at short in that 2017 season than I even expected. He looked more like the San Rafael version of him versus the guy who had a tough time fitting in Pittsburgh, maybe. I'm not sure what it was that his defense wasn't the same that year, but he looked much more like himself after that. At third base, from Modesto, California, Matt O'Donnell has his top third baseman as Michael Serta. Serta, former White Sox draft pick, another fan favorite at Wilson Park, saying he had a Hunter Pence-like personality that rubbed off on his teammates and coaches. Serta got there right after the restart of operations in the first season, the 2013 season. 367 on-base percentage in 2014. Matt noted, sort of like Roman, his numbers weren't off the charts, but there was something about his demeanor that always made an impression. And that is true. He made sure to have fun out there, and he was clutch. I know that's hard for people to define or in order to quantify the clutch rating in your late and close. But his was there in a classic way in his RBIs. Serta was excellent with runners on. He was clutch. It was measurable in his ribbies and success with runners on. And he was really good at third base. He won the top defensive third baseman award in 2014. Matt O'Donnell gives his honorable mention to Chris Fornacci, an outstanding defensive third baseman who hit 17 home runs in 2018 and a key reason the Admirals won it all the previous season. Fornacci makes it a very tough call. These are like 1A and 1B. Fornacci coming in was the first piece of that infield remake, and everything kind of then trickled in from there. This is the toughest call of them all. Who the top third base goes to between Serta and Fornacci because of how good they both have been in their own way. Left field, pretty easy. Same for Matt. Nick Aikens Sr. O'Donnell said, Aikens might not always be a fan favorite of other teams in the league. He sometimes has a little bit of Yasiel Puig or Mel Hall in him, and he is a Puig fan, is Nick Aiken Sr. Staring at home runs before chugging around the bases. So I don't even think he stares at him. I think he, sees where it's going, admires his work a bit. Besides, that's what I don't get. You could have a block shot in basketball or a three-pointer or some meaningless special teams tackle and lose your mind over it. Go nuts with the celebration, but you can't put your arms up and enjoy a home run. Whatever. But Matt O'Donnell would say from the press box, he was always a must-watch at bat. 3-year veteran for the Admirals. Aikens owns pretty much every power hitting category in team history. 29 home runs 2 seasons ago nearly broke the league record. You should see the butthurt catchers in highlights from his previous professional stops, especially the younger guys or other indie ball dudes. All the catchers getting upset that he would dare to enjoy hitting a home run. Oh, my God. Center field, Tillman Pugh. Pugh may be the most talented Admiral of all time, O'Donnell would say. Strange to think that he couldn't land a spot on the 2013 opening day roster, but eventually became league MVP in 2017. Yes, very strange. Very strange he wasn't even going to be invited back in 2014. The powers that be thought very strange things about Tillman Pugh in those first 2 years of Admirals baseball. But in that 2017 season, Matt noted he blasted 18 homers, had a .991 OPS, outstanding in center, even missed a little time with an injury that year. Pugh has gone up to higher levels. He's playing in Japan right now. Congrats to Tillman playing in Japan. All those promotions, well-deserved. Tillman did it all. Stole bases, hit for power, hit for average. In right field, this is a good job by Matt here to try to make a little room for Darian Sanford. Technically another center fielder with the Admirals, but he thought he'd put him in right for a little extra defense. I'd maybe go the other way around. I might play, if this were an actual game, Tillman in right, Sanford in center. He called him the Ricky Henderson of Vallejo, Darian Sanford, and that's true. The St. Louis native opposing manager knew he was going to steal. The pitcher knew he was going to steal. The catcher knew he was going to steal. O'Donnell said, heck, the concession worker knew he was going to steal. It didn't matter. Sanford was that fast. 99 stolen bases in 2016 for Darian Sanford. In Baseball Reference, when you look it up. Moved up to independent teams higher than this. Even got to the Nationals organization at AA when they needed some depth in their outfield. Always played with a chip on his shoulder, has Darian Sanford. It just never feels quite like he's gotten the respect he deserves. Manager P.J. Phillips definitely helped him improve his offense at the plate and really just gave him the greenest of green lights to go in the remainder of that 16 season when he took over. Actually, my alternates on this list, I like this of, maybe I'd put Tillman in right, Sanford in center in a real game, but I like putting the two of them in this list. The honorable mentions in right field, Jordan Hinshaw, Rookie of the Year in 2014 in the league, and Chevy Clark. They get the honorable mention in right field, as does the utility player on Matt's list coming up. Goes to designated hitter after that, Nathan Tomaszewski, who Matt admitted was one of his least favorite names to spell on a deadline. It looks like Tomaszewski, Szewski at the end. In fact, in college, they pronounced it that way to have a nickname of Zeus for him, being the big fella that he was, that he grew into. He wasn't the biggest dude in high school. That sort of happened in college. It's kind of like how Olowokandi, remember Michael Olowokandi? I know it was pronounced Olowokandi, but they changed it to Candy to be the Candy Man. And Joe Theismann, quarterback, changed his pronunciation to Theismann to rhyme with Heisman. But the true Polish pronunciation was Tomaszewski. That was clarified by his dad, Mark, for Nate. Member of that 2013 team, Tomaszewski He had the big mustache right before the postseason, Matt noted. And just, what a character he was. Others called him Ron Burgundy. Tito Fuentes Jr. called him El Mustachio. He would get up to Bristol, the Bristol Pirates, rookie ball for the Pirates organization before retiring from professional baseball. This is a good one. I liked Nate. He joined a fantasy football league of mine one year, the year after that 13th season. I talked with his dad, Mark, a lot, his dad, Mark, bought me the Admirals anchor hat, the old gray and blue, in 2013. He bought that for me before I had the hookup, before I was media director. We'd chat on the phone, me and Nate's dad, talk about Nate, stats, things like that. But either in this spot or the utility spot coming up, it's a tough call between Nate and P.J. Phillips. Got to have him in here. Got to have P.J. at least as the alternate here or something. P.J. played a lot of spots. That's why he might count as the utility. DH'd a lot. Played some first base, unfortunately. We saw him at his natural second. He'll say, unfortunately. He didn't like playing it. Saw him at his natural second base. Played a little left field in his time as an Admirals player before becoming manager. 27 doubles in 2015 for P.J. Phillips, the league record, still to this day. Got to acknowledge that. And again, Matt was talking about, some of the colorful personalities. PJ's maybe not the most excited to do an interview. He does it. He's gotten really good at it as a manager. I'll give him that. But if you know PJ off the field, he's hilarious. So I see that side of his personality. But PJ, I would have to acknowledge him on the production end, especially in that role. In the lost season of Admirals baseball in 2015, he was probably the brightest spot, setting that doubles record. In Matt O'Donnell's utility spot, he's got Vlad Gomez. Certainly remembered for having the most unique at-bat rituals with the 3 claps and pointing of the bat routine. But he is, as Matt O'Donnell noted, an affable, wonderful teammate, a terrific role player. Recently gave a public service announcement for the Admirals Facebook about washing your hands. Does the butcher in the offseason, Vlad Gomez. He got mixed up with a different Vlad Gomez. You've heard me tell this story during broadcasts on the Fitz Blitz before. Of a different guy who was using that name, Vlad Gomez, throwing avocados at a bodega worker in the Bronx in May of the 2017 season. But to have some fun with that, Chris Owens, Vlad Gomez, I think they came up with the idea to throw out an avocado as a ceremonial first pitch in a game against San Rafael. And Matt O'Donnell noted, you got to love minor league baseball. And he's absolutely right. So that's Matt's list. Those are my thoughts on that, of the position players and some of my alternates, some of my other candidates you could go with in there. But a really good list overall. On my birthday, former Fitz Blitz co-host and back with the Admirals this year, Chris Owens, he and I put together our own list of special Admirals that we've interacted with over the years. We wrote it down on a napkin, and we forgot it at the townhouse. In diamond form. We drew the diamond like you're making a depth chart. There it was. It was the all-problematic team. The all-pain-in-the-butt team. Hey, when you work on the inside, you see how the sausage is made. And you really get to know some personalities. But that's another list for a show that will never air. We got this one on the air, though. Hope you enjoyed this little lunchtime quickie with me for the Fitz Blitz. I have my 1:30 advancement department meeting at Cal Maritime via Zoom coming up here shortly. But, hey, felt good to be back on the mic. Be back with everybody here on the Fitz Blitz. Stay safe out there. Be sure to stay put. Stay put. Listen to OzCat Radio. Stay put. Learn a new skill. Video chat with your people. Do something where you said, oh, I just haven't had time to do that. Oh, I haven't had time to do that. Well, you got time now. It's time. Take advantage of this time more than anything. That'll do it for this episode of The Blitz. I will catch you next time. Peace.
Weezy out of here. Weezy out.
Lot of money, I can have a cash. Boy, flew back across the water with a passport. Lamborghini yours is a fast boy. I'm around the world securing me a bad boy. Call the bro neighbor like a next door. Rolls Royce cat carpet in the floor, boy. $100,000 on all tours. Those stylist people calling me the drill lord. Keep it hardcore, pop at it while I'm writing me the time for. Show real love, robbing these I kill for. We stood tough, means then we ain't switchin', we the same us. One a real one, ain't changed. White Range Rover with beige guts. Can't save her, I'ma kick out after I slave her. Got sauce, I got flavor. Text fifth drip that I paid for. New crook got a lot of acres. The way so you can get an A+. Disrespect, you can get your brains bust. Get a check and go and get your chain bust. Get a check and go and get your chain bust. Got any young thing, get some real rocks. You can color diamonds on your wrist, y'all. Have a 3 or 4, you can get a plane watch. 120,000 on the plane watch. Rose gold, what you meal, what you ain't got. Pop, leave them shell shot. On the big drip with your nails out. Lot of money, I can have a cash. Boy, flew back across the water with a passport. Lamborghini yours is a fast boy. I'm around the world securing me a bad boy. Call the bro neighbor like a next door. Rolls Royce cat carpet in the floor, boy. $100,000 on all tours. Those stylist people calling me the drill lord. Keep it hardcore, pop at it while I'm writing me the time for. Show real love, robbing these I kill for. We stood tough, means then we ain't switchin', we the same us. One a real one, ain't changed. White Range Rover with the beige guts. White Range Rover with the beige guts. Got a table, had to pay extra pay. She raising, she don't use a razor. Digging in it like I'm trying to dig a grave. I'm the one that asking for a favor. Pray to God that it work in your favor. Stack a lot of cash, I got laid. Been ballin' in LA, feel like a lake. Got it on my get a pay cut. When a million come inside with the makers. Wearing black Billy like a raider. Bring it to your front door like a cater. Up made out of alligator. I buy that get Taylor. Told let's play whoever tried to play us. Said I just not feeling way up. Lot of money, I can have a cash. Boy, flew back across the water with a passport. Lamborghini yours is a fast boy. I'm around the world securing me a bad boy. Call the bro neighbor like a next door. Rolls Royce cat carpet in the floor, boy. $100,000 on all tours. Those stylist people calling me the drill lord. Keep it hardcore, pop at it while I'm writing me the time for. Show real love, robbing these I kill for. We stood tough, means then we ain't switchin', we the same us. One a real one, ain't changed. White Range Rover with